W1h W2h Transitions revolves around making the connections clear between all pieces of your essay, therefore making it easier for the reader, or your listener if you're giving a speech, to follow your line of reasoning. This is an important skill. The more easy we can make it for a reader and audience to understand us, the better. Starting at the one level of this particular target, you can use transitions, words, phrases, and clauses to create cohesion and clarify the relationships between paragraphs, but you're inconsistent. At the two level, I'll see some patterns developing. You can use transitions, word, phrases, and clauses, to create cohesion and clarify the relationships primarily between your paragraphs. So I might see some nice transitions at the start of each paragraph, but not so much within the paragraphs. At the three level, you can do those transitions between paragraphs and also within some paragraphs, but not consistently within the paragraphs. And at the four level, they'll be throughout the entire essay, very consistent within and between paragraphs. Some guidelines to keep in mind when you're working on transitions. You do want to use a variety of both mild and strong transitions, and there'll be a list provided to you that will feature both types of transitions. You'll want to be careful not to use too many strong transitions. They're kind of like a slap in the face. And you want to keep in mind that transitions become stronger when they're the first word in a sentence. So even a mild transition can come across as strong if that's where it's placed. Transitions become milder when they're moved a few words into the sentence. So if you really like a strong transition and you want to use it, but you've already got quite a few, consider moving it further into the sentence. Avoid repeating transitions within the entire essay. Is it challenging? Absolutely, but there are a lot of transitions out there. There's no need to repeat. Now there's a transitions list posted on the main page of this target. You should review it and use it frequently. It's organized by type of transition, so whenever you are adding information, you can look to see what's under the add transitions. Whenever you are talking about a contrast, you can look to see what are the contrast transitions. Use those tools to your benefit to make your essays stronger. I've got an example paragraph and then the beginning of a second paragraph here so we can see what it looks like to have transitions both within and between paragraphs. Now this first body paragraph would be the first body paragraph in an essay, so we don't have a transition into it, but we will need one going into the next body paragraph. So we'll start just with the basic evidence statement. Owen paints a vivid image of rundown soldiers to show how damaging the war is on their bodies and minds. Here we have a transition into the first detail. Early in the poem, so we're giving a location for that first detail to help transition into it. He describes how the soldiers' boots wore out or were lost, but they limped on bloodshot. Before we give our second detail, we add in a transition. Even worse, so the second detail is more important, they were deaf even to the hoots of tired outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. We move into our explanation with the simple transition word these to make sure that we're referring back to the same soldiers that were earlier referenced in the details. These men were so run down that they walked barefoot and bloody, ignoring the bombs, potential death, which dropped among them. All they could think to do, stand to do, is put one foot in front of the other, revealing how crushing war can be on the body and mind of the soldier. Now we need a transition as we move into our next body paragraph. Not only were the soldiers run down during battle, so we clearly connect to the first paragraph, Owen also, indicating that we're adding on new evidence, reveals long-term damage to their minds through his description of the narrator's dreams. In the middle of the poem, so we give some location transition going into the first detail of the second body paragraph, and it would go on just in that same fashion. Transitions between the details, transitions into the explanation, and transition into the next body paragraph. Notice there's nothing repeated here. These aren't the transitions that you might consider classic, first, second, third, another also is probably the closest we come to that. So again, use variety, use that list to your advantage, look up the different types of transitions available to you, and start working them in everywhere you can.